Hello.
Hello, Megan.
How are you?
Good. Do you have a palate cleanser for us today?
I do. I got so many messages from people. My friend Becky texted me last night in all caps, and she was like, Megan, I did not heed your warning. I was like, I tried to tell you.
You told us. You told everyone.
But a lot of people who messaged me were like, I just thought it was a cannibal episode.
No.
And I'm like, I mean, I did say this is like the most disturbing story we've ever done, but I don't know if I made it clear.
Right. You didn't say that loud enough.
Right.
Right.
So that's on me, you guys.
Also, and coming back to the comments, how many Swedish cannibals are there?
No, in the Facebook group, someone was like, you said Swedish cannibal, and I was like, which one? And I was like, take me off this planet. Like,
yeah, I don't like this anymore.
Get me out of here. I hate it.
What? And then they started tagging a bunch of, like, not tagging the people, but tagging all the stories. Tagging the stories.
Oh, oh my God.
Whoa. Hey, look, we color matched today. Our jeans are the same color and our shirts are the same color.
We're so smart.
We're really good at this, guys.
We're so smart. Hey, real quick, while I'm thinking about it, we are not going to have a new episode next week because
Thanksgiving.
It's Thanksgiving and we're going to give ourselves a break. So we're just going to we're going to still see each other next week.
Yeah.
We're going to record our Patreon episodes, but we're not.
And we're going to work the coffee cart.
Yeah, we're going to work together next week making coffee next weekend, but we're not going to have a new episode on Friday. So just so y'all know, don't worry when there's not a new episode.
Yeah, nothing happened. It's just Thanksgiving and we have chaos happening.
We're actually thinking ahead and thinking, you know what? We will need a break.
Yeah.
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 It's going to be a short week. We'll have our kids.
Oof.
Yeah.
It'll be chaos.
So my episode this week, I decided for our palate cleanser, I was going to go back to the Salem Witch Trials.
Oh, yay. Oh, I mean, not yay, but
right.
Yeah, right.
I know. Well, they're always just interesting stories, I feel like.
Yeah.
And it's been a while. I mean, it's been longer than I even realized since I initially started out, I wanted to tell the stories of all of those women.
Right.
And I got through 3 episodes of that series and then I stopped and I got sidetracked and now we're going to go back.
Here we are.
This is the 4th installment in the series of telling all the stories of the women who died in the Salem Witch Trials. And so I've got the stories of 3 more women today, and all of them were hanged on July 19th, 1690.
Somewhere.
I want to say 1693, but I'm blanking on it. So let me just double
check.
Let
her just do a little scroll
before I say it. All this will get deleted on the.
That's fine.
Okay. On July 19th, 1692.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Just a hop, skip, and a jump away.
Just a little while ago. Okay. So we will start with. Okay, we're going to start with Susannah Martin. She was born Susannah North in 1621 in Buckinghamshire, England. 18 years later, she crossed the pond with her father and stepmother and settled in Salisbury.
Oh, perfect.
Salisbury.
Yeah.
Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Just like the steak.
Yeah.
It was 1639, which made the North family some of the earliest settlers of Salisbury.
Oh, wow.
She got married a few years later in 1646 to a blacksmith named George Martin, and she took his last name.
Okay.
She had 8 children. They had 8 children together.
Right. She birthed 8 children.
And moved to a town nearby, Amesbury, which was about 30 miles north of Salem.
Good. That one's a little easier to pronounce.
It sure is. I don't think they had steaks there, actually.
No, they didn't. No.
Now, if you look through... If you look through court records from the later half of the 1600s, you see Susannah Martin's name a lot.
Oh.
My mom's calling.
Hi, Mom.
Sorry, Mom.
We busy.
Now, if you look through the court records from the later half of the 1600s, you see Susannah Martin's name a lot. Like many of the other accused witches we've discussed on this podcast in regard to the Salem Witch Trials, Susannah was viewed as a troublemaker.
Oh.
And by that, I mean she was a woman who wasn't demure and she was not a people pleaser. Oh. So she clearly had to be stopped.
Right. Yeah. Right. Let's put an end to that. How dare she step out of bounds? Gosh.
She was accused of witchcraft twice before 1692.
Oh.
In the first case,
Nicholasville.
In the first case, a man accused her of tormenting his wife with her spirit.
Oh.
These charges were eventually dropped. In the second case, a man said that he witnessed Susannah give birth to and then kill an illegitimate baby. And this time, Susannah's husband, George, sued the accuser for slander. I love it when this happens, when the husband steps up and he's like,
"You're crazy."
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
The court decided that this guy was liable for slander in accusing Susannah of fornication and infanticide.
Oh.
Infanticide.
Yeah.
But not for the witchcraft accusations.
Oh.
Which is weird.
That's really weird.
He's like, you didn't do this. Like, that part's slander, but this part's not.
Yeah.
But then the charges were eventually dropped anyway, so it didn't matter.
Huh.
Then George Martin died in 1686, which left Susannah poor and without the protection of her husband.
Oh, no.
So when she was accused of witchcraft in 1692, there was no one to protect her. There was nobody to fight for her. So it didn't help that she kind of knew that people thought she was a witch.
Oh, no.
And sometimes she played into it.
Oh, no.
To get people to leave her alone, which I would 1,000% do. She kind of liked to scare people. She was just like, you know what? If you think I'm a witch, I will play that
You should see my
role.
cauldron.
Yeah. She didn't care if people liked her. She was kind of a loner. So she was just like, whatever, I'm a witch.
Fine.
You want to call me a witch? I'll be a witch.
Yeah. Oh.
This time, she was accused by some girls from Salem.
Of course she was.
Where, as you may have noticed, Susannah didn't even live.
Right.
And she was accused by the usual crowd: Mary Walcott, Abigail Williams, Ann Putnam Jr., and Mercy Lewis. I know we've heard of Abigail Williams and Ann Putnam Jr. before, but I'm not sure about the others, so real quick, let me introduce them to you. Mercy Lewis was 19 years old. Her whole family was killed, and she was sent to be a servant in the house of Thomas Putnam. And then Mary Walcott was Ann Putnam's cousin. So they're all connected still to that same family. Historians have suggested that when it came to the accused witches in Salem, these girls sometimes accused people they knew, and sometimes they just accused people who already had a reputation.
Yeah.
So since Susannah Martin had already been accused of being a witch in the past, she seems to fall into that latter group. It didn't matter that the girls didn't know her.
Yeah.
She'd already had this reputation. She'd been repeatedly accused of being a witch by her neighbors. So why not drag her into the Salem Witch Trials too?
Because she, Daddy didn't raise those girls to be like, hey, if you see a witch,
God,
speak up.
Kills me. She was arrested on May 2nd and brought to Salem Village. They questioned her, and twice she went under a physical examination, during which they were trying to locate a witch's teat
Oh my gosh.
that prosecutors believed were used by witches to feed their familiars.
Oh my gosh.
They didn't find a witch's teat, obviously, but one examiner noted that in the morning her nipples were found to be full, as if milk would come, but later in the day her breasts were slack, as if the milk had been given to someone or something.
Huh?
I'm like, quit looking at her boobs so much. Back off.
Yeah.
Ugh. Most of the court records from Susannah's trial were lost. However, Cotton Mather, who you've probably heard of, he's a well-known minister from this time, documented her trial himself.
Oh.
So I'll give you a little bit of
his rendition.
And I'm not going to be able, I don't think, to say it like exactly like they did, because it's just too hard to speak this way. Yeah. So the magistrate says to the afflicted girls, "Do you know this woman?" And Abigail Williams is like, "It's Goody Martin. She has hurt me often."
Oh my gosh.
And the others were having these fits, which kept them from being able to speak. Elizabeth Hubbard was like, "She has never hurt me." And then Ann Putnam throws her glove at her, like having a fit. And when she does that, Susannah Martin laughs. Because she's just like, this is absurd.
You're crazy.
Yeah. And the magistrate looks at Susannah and he's like, "Why are you laughing?" And she goes, "Well, I may at such folly." Because she's just like, "Of course I'm laughing. This is ridiculous."
Yeah.
And the magistrate's like, "Why do you think this is so, like, what's so funny? You're hurting. Like, these people are in pain." And Mercy Lewis goes, she has hurt me a great many times. She has pulled me down. And Susannah starts laughing again, which I just think is hilarious.
Yeah.
Like Susannah just can't
Y'all are
help
nuts.
but laugh.
Yeah.
And Mary Walcott says, this woman's hurt me a great many times too.
Oh, she did.
And then other people are like, yep, she hurts me.
Yep, here she is. Yeah.
And the magistrate looks at Susannah and says, what do you have to say to this?
Mm-hmm.
And Susannah says, I have no hand in witchcraft.
Right.
And the magistrate says, what did you do? Did you not give your consent? What ails these people? And Susannah says, I do not know.
Mm-hmm.
What ails these people? I do not know. And then the magistrate says, but what do you think? Like,
oh, I don't know.
right. And so she goes, I do not desire to spend my judgment upon it. And he says, do you not think they are bewitched? And she says, no, I don't think they are. He says, tell me your thoughts about them.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
well then,
there's no answer she can give.
Let's start some drama here.
Right.
Yeah.
There's nothing she can say.
Yeah.
If she were to give an answer, it would be like, well, how do you know that?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing she can say that's going to help her. And so during her trial, she was asked to quote the Bible, which she shouldn't have been able to do if she was a witch.
Right.
But she was able to do it. She quoted it just fine from memory. 24 people testified against her, accusing her of all sorts of things.
Oh my gosh.
They said that she participated in satanic rituals. One man said she'd driven her wife insane when probably he had just driven his wife insane. She'd killed some cows, all the usual things.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Susannah,
the land is dried up.
Right. I mean,
the typical.
The crops didn't happen. It's all her.
Yeah, the rain.
Susannah, of course, denied all of this. Maybe, she said, her accusers were under the influence of Satan, which I just love that.
That's amazing.
Like, maybe all of you all are the bad guys, which
maybe.
Of course they are.
Yeah.
Despite the lack of evidence, Susannah was found guilty of witchcraft and hanged at Proctor's Ledge near Gallows Hill on July 19th. This was the same day that Rebecca Nurse and Sarah Good, who we already discussed in episodes 210 and 207, respectively, as well as Elizabeth Howe and Sarah Wilds, whose stories we haven't told yet, but I'm getting ready to tell you today. Susannah was buried in a shallow grave near the execution site, but since the exact location of the executions has never been found, we don't exactly know where that burial site is. Residents of the town of Amesbury later placed a stone marker near Susannah and George Martin's home that read, "Here stood the house of Susannah Martin, an honest, hard-working Christian woman, accused of being a witch and executed at Salem, July 19, 1692. She will be missed, a martyr of superstition. TIA 1894.
Oh, wow.
In 1711, the Massachusetts legislature passed a resolution clearing the names of the convicted witches and offered financial restitution to their descendants. Susannah Martin's family chose not to be named in the law and didn't seek restitution.
Oh, wow. Nicholasville.
Just going to let that card go by. Okay. One of the other women hanged that day was Elizabeth Howe. So let's talk about her story.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Howe was born Elizabeth Jackson on May 14th, 1637, near Rowley, Yorkshire. Yorkshire. I never know if it's Shire or Shire. I know.
Okay. I know. They'll correct us.
I'm a Kentuckian. But at the time she was accused of But at the time she was accused of witchcraft, she was living... Let's just start that whole story. Elizabeth Howe was born Elizabeth Jackson on May 14th, 1637, near Rowley, Yorkshire. But at the time, she was accused of witchcraft. Why do I keep giving the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable? Dang it. Elizabeth Howe.
There's this one girl that did this thing. And they accused her of something during this time. The end.
Elizabeth Howe was born Elizabeth Jackson. I said that too fast. I think we're done.
It's over. Oh, hey, guys, this is the Witches, Magic, Murder, and Mystery Podcast.
I don't think we said that.
I'm Kara.
Okay, let's say it now. We'll put that back at the beginning. This is the Witches, Magic, Murder, and Mystery Podcast.
I'm Kara.
And I'm Megan. And just so you know, we're saying this about 20 minutes into the recording, and I'm editing it and putting it at the beginning.
Because we're so good at it.
Great. We've been doing this for like 3 years.
Wow.
Okay.
We're professionals.
Elizabeth Howe was born Elizabeth Jackson on May 14th, 1637, near Rowley, Yorkshire. But at the time she was accused of witchcraft, she was living in Topsfield, Massachusetts, married to James Howe, and the mother of 6 children: James, Elizabeth, Mary, Deborah, John, and Abigail. And for whatever reason, like a lot of these women were mothers, but for some reason when I read this one and their names, it just really struck me, like what it must have been like to be the child of one of the women who was accused.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what that must have felt like, oh no, just how scary.
Yeah. You never know who's going.
Of course, these were some of the very first women, because July 19th, like these were some, like Bridget Bishop was the very first one to die, but like July 19th was the next round, and I just think they may not have realized how scary it was going to be yet. Although the witchcraft hysteria was in full swing, but I'm just like, gosh, it just had to have been so wild to be like, my mom's a witch? Like, why is everybody saying this about my mom? Like, I know how good my mom is, you know? Okay. Topsfield was a deeply pious Puritan community. We would have fit in real well there. They would have loved us.
We'd be hanging with everybody else.
They had a firm belief in the devil. They thought he was an enemy not only to the world in general, but specifically to Puritans.
Oh, really?
They thought it was everyone's like individual duty to fight against him.
Oh, wow.
When James, Elizabeth's husband, was 50, he lost his eyesight.
Oh, no.
So once he was blind, Elizabeth had to take over more responsibilities.
Right.
She became more of the head of the household, managing the home and also managing the farm.
Okay.
And basically, she had this level of responsibility beyond what was considered acceptable for Puritan housewives. Which is like, what else was she supposed to do?
Right, exactly. Just let everything go away.
But this could have been what made her kind of a target for witchcraft accusations. I mean, it couldn't have helped.
No,
right.
Right.
So
that's too masculine of her.
Right.
Yeah. How dare she?
But she was just helping her husband. Which is also what wives
were supposed to do.
Right.
Yeah.
She can't win.
No.
There was this long-standing feud between Elizabeth and her neighbors, Samuel and Ruth Purley. Ruth's brother had married Elizabeth's sister, so they were sort of related.
Okay.
The Purleys had a daughter, 10-year-old Hannah, who accused Elizabeth of afflicting her.
Oh my gosh.
Hannah would fall into fits and complain of being pricked by pins and blame it on Elizabeth. And at first, the young girl's family didn't believe the accusations, and it went on for years. They took her to several doctors who said the girl was under an evil hand. That was like their official diagnosis. Well, she's under an evil hand.
Oh, no.
So a local reverend visited Hannah while she was sick and later testified that Hannah screamed that Elizabeth was in the room, like a specter, and going in and out of an oven.
Huh?
Hannah eventually died of whatever this affliction was. It sounded like she wasted away. Like all the articles said, she pined away to skin and bones.
Oh, gosh.
So I don't know what she had, but she was very sick.
Yeah.
10 years later, some girls from Salem came forward and accused Elizabeth of afflicting them as well.
Oh my
and again, these names are going to sound familiar. Mercy Lewis, Mary Walcott, Ann Putnam Jr., Abigail Williams, and one new name, Mary Warren. She was 21 when the trials began, and she was a servant of John Proctor in Salem. Okay, so a warrant was issued for Elizabeth's arrest on May 28, 1692. She was imprisoned, and her family walked miles twice a week to visit her and brought her food and gifts for comfort. So, unlike some of the witches we've discussed, Elizabeth had a lot of friends and family who supported her.
Yeah.
When she was brought in for examination, Mercy Lewis and Mary Walcott, her two main accusers, fell into a fit.
Oh, of course they did.
Like she walks in and they just collapse.
Of course.
Mary accused her of pinching and choking her.
What?
And Ann Putnam said that Elizabeth had hurt her 3 times. Elizabeth responded, "If it was the last moment I was to live, God knows I am innocent of anything of this nature." Elizabeth's 94-year-old father-in-law spoke in her defense, saying that she was a loving, obedient, and kind person who looked after his blind son and their children.
Yeah. Like, what are you all doing here?
Several of her neighbors who had known Elizabeth for over 20 years also testified on her behalf, saying, quote, her words and actions were always such as well. I'm not sure what I typed there. Several of her neighbors who had known Elizabeth for over 20 years also testified on her behalf, saying that her words and actions always fit those of a good Christian woman.
Yeah.
I really have no idea. Like,
minus the neighbors that didn't like her.
Right. Two couples said that they had never heard her speak against those who were accusing her. Like, even though they were accusing her, she still maintained this good Christian attitude and didn't speak ill of them.
Oh, well.
And they had heard her say, quote, indeed, I pray that God would forgive them, for they harmed themselves more than me.
So she wasn't running around yelling, snitches, get stitches.
Nope.
Protect these witches.
She is a much better person than I am. As we know, none of this mattered because she was found guilty and hanged, as I already told you, on July 19th, 1692.
Oh my gosh.
And now let's talk about the last woman who was hanged that day, Sarah Wildes. Sarah was 65 years old when she died. She wasn't the oldest because that was Rebecca Nurse, who also was hanged the same day. We already talked about her. Sarah had had previous issues with the Putnam family, and from what I've read, that was a big risk factor when it came to being an accused witch in Salem.
That's so crazy.
When Sarah was 10 years old, she had migrated from her
Words are hard today. Words are really hard.
When Sarah was 10 years old, she had migrated with her parents from England to Ipswich, Massachusetts in 1637. When she got older, she married a widower. This YouTube video is going to be like, hey.
What's happening?
When she got older, she married a widower named John Wildes. He had 8 children of his own.
Oh.
And then he and Sarah had a son together, Ephraim. Just going to check this real quick. Okay.
It's still fine. Okay.
It's good.
It's good. It's good.
I was going to sneeze.
The way you said it's good reminded me of Sweater Weather. That skit on Saturday Night Live. Sweater Weather.
Sweater Weather. John was a well-liked, influential member of the community, holding several different positions in the town government. Sarah was known for being glamorous and forward.
Oh.
Don't do that. Don't do that
already,
in the 1600s.
She's already.
Yeah. You in danger, girl.
That's a big no-no.
I already told you earlier that Ipswich was known for being like super Puritan.
Yeah.
So being glamorous was already bad.
You don't do
and
that.
then being forward is super bad. As
she
a
probably
woman.
liked bright colors and stuff too.
Oh, wait, yeah. So in November of 1649, this was before she'd married John, she had been whipped for fornication, which is having sex outside of marriage.
Oh.
And then in May 1663, prepare yourself, she was charged with wearing a silk scarf.
Stop it. How scandalous.
I'm sorry, you guys. I should have had a trigger warning for that.
Yeah, whoa.
I hope your children weren't listening.
Whoa.
Silk scarf.
Can you imagine what her ankles looked like?
And her wrists.
Oh my gosh.
Do you think her earlobes were out?
Oh my gosh. The silk scarf. Heaven forbid.
And then, when she and John got married, it was about 7 months after John's first wife had died, which made John's former in-laws mad. And John's former in-laws were the Gould family. If that name rings a bell, it did for me too, because I remembered not having any idea how to pronounce it. I knew I had read about them before when it came to the Salem Witch Trials, so I had to go back through the research I'd done for other episodes. I talked about them in the Town Sisters episode 210. They just also have a history of accusing
Witch haters. They were witch
people
haters.
they don't like of witchcraft. So, of course, they're related to the Putnams.
Yeah.
I don't think I realized that when I did the other episode, that these two families
It's ridiculous.
are related.
Yeah.
So annoying.
Yeah.
Like, this is just what they do. How do they live with themselves?
Oh, seems like easily.
Ugh, God.
Because they were in charge.
So anyway, John Wilde's ex-sister-in-law started spreading rumors that Sarah was a witch.
Oh, how fun.
Just because she didn't like her. That's just what she did.
Wow.
And then John was like, I'm going to sue you for slander.
Oh.
And so she stopped.
Oh.
But you know how that goes. Once those rumors are out there, it's hard to unring that bell.
Wildfire. Yeah.
And then there are a bunch of stories like these guys went to the Wilds' house to borrow a scythe, which is this like a cutting tool. And Sarah said they didn't have one. Now, they did have one, but her husband wasn't home, and maybe she just didn't want to deal with these men.
Right.
But the guys saw that she had one and took it anyway against her protests. So they used the scythe to cut their hay, and then they had a series of mishaps with their cart and oxen, which they blamed on Sarah.
Oh, of course they did.
I don't love this at all, that these men stole this tool from her, but somehow this story comes back to be a bad thing against Sarah.
Her. Yeah, they're the victims now.
You all stole it.
Yeah. No,
How
karma's
are you
karma's
you're
coming
the
back
bad
at
guy.
you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You deserve whatever mishaps happen.
Right.
But somehow now this is a witchcraft story. Like, you were being jerks.
Yeah.
Just so annoyed. Another man said that Sarah had bought a beehive from him, and then he lost most of his livestock and geese and cattle. Like,
she bought it from you. She didn't steal it from you. She didn't hex you because you didn't sell her the right one.
Right. There was no...
She literally bought a beehive from you.
Why are these things connected?
How do you get that
I read
from
that story a few times, and I was like, I don't understand.
I don't get that.
So anyway, Sarah ends up arrested for witchcraft on April 21st, 1692, arrested along with many others on, quote, high suspicion of witchcraft.
Oh my gosh.
Her son Ephraim was a constable at this point, and he had to arrest several of these women. And one of the women he arrested, her name was Deliverance Hobbs. Can you imagine your name being Deliverance? Now, Deliverance made a jailhouse confession and implicated Sarah Wildes as a witch. Ephraim said that he thought that Deliverance did this as retaliation because he had arrested her.
Yeah.
So Sarah's examination began the next day. And when it began, this girl named Sarah Bibber started, I just can't help but giggle, started having a fit.
Of course.
Saying that she saw Sarah Wilde's specter. And then Ann Putnam Jr. joins in. I swear. It's like she cannot stop talking.
No.
Saying that she had witnessed...
What is it that the kids say now? She's a pick-me.
Right. She is the biggest pick-me of all the Salem Witch Trials. You know that she's the only one of all of them. Ann Putnam Jr. is the only one that ever came forward and apologized. Which is like too little too late. But,
right, exactly. Do you know how much torment you put these families through?
I mean, I guess it's something that she at least admitted.
Yeah.
And maybe felt bad for it, but it still makes me angry.
Oh, I know.
Her name makes me angry.
Yeah.
But of course I have to think she's a child under the influence of adults.
Right, exactly. And that whole family makes me angry.
Right. Okay, anyway. Ann Putnam Jr. joins in saying that she had witnessed the torture of Mary Walcott, Mercy Lewis, and Abigail Williams. There was no evidence, but who cares?
Right.
Who cares?
They didn't need any.
Ephraim testified on behalf of his mother, saying that he had never seen her hurt anyone, and that she had always taught him to be a good Christian. He and his father both testified about the ulterior motives of the Gold family. Sarah, of course, said that she was innocent and that she had never even seen any of these girls before that were accusing her, which was probably true.
Yeah.
But again, who cares?
They say that they are afflicted by her. So what?
It's the Salem Witch Trials. The rules
so
are made up and
crazy.
the points don't matter.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
Those old witchcraft rumors from the Gold family come up again. And there was also some stuff that came up about one of John's sons, who was Sarah's stepson. He was known for some strange behavior. He probably...
Nicholasville. Stop it.
He probably had some sort of mental illness or disability. But in those days, of course, this was like, oh, he's possessed by the devil.
Yeah.
And this ended up being something that was used against her. Gotta say that again. And this ended up being something that was used against her, like it was evidence of her being a witch.
But that's not even her, like, blood-born child.
I like that you think this matters.
Right, exactly. Sorry.
Matter.
I didn't even think about
it's
that.
It's the Salem Witch Trials. Nothing matters.
Yeah.
And then that one woman, Deliverance Hobbs, goes on trial. And during her trial, she said that Sarah's apparition had torn her to shreds as she lay in her bed.
Really?
And then...
You wish.
And you liked it. And that Sarah had recruited her to attend a black mass and had offered to stop tormenting her if she signed the devil's book.
Oh.
I looked it up. Deliverance Hobbs isn't on the list of women who died in the trials, so I guess this worked for her.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it didn't work out for Sarah.
Right. What is with Nicholasville loud vehicles
Can everybody
today?
just stop
Can
driving
you
while we're recording?
We're
please?
busy.
Of course, it didn't work out for Sarah. She was tried on June 30th, 1692, found guilty, and as you know, hanged on July 19th.
It's craziness.
Of course, I say that about Deliverance Hobbs, where I'm like, glad this worked for you.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, do you ever think about... I admire the women who didn't throw other women under the bus.
Right, for
in
sure.
the Salem Witch Trials.
Yeah. But
Do
you're
you
just
ever wonder
reaching.
what you would have done?
You're just reaching for answers. You're just trying to figure out what answers they're going to accept to make you not guilty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to die.
No.
Especially if you have kids there.
Exactly.
You're looking at your kids thinking, what can I do?
What's going to save my kids too? Because what if you don't know what's going to happen to your kids afterwards?
Yeah. What if you're a single mom?
Yep.
And if you die, your kids are left with what? And not only that, you died a witch and now your kids have to live with that legacy.
Yep.
I want to believe that I would not have done what Deliverance did.
I probably would have just acted like a witch. It would have been, you all are going to hang me anyways. I'm going to act ridiculous.
I mean,
I'm going to hex all of you all.
Like, I think I probably would have been smart enough to realize that, like, it doesn't matter what I do. They've decided this.
Yeah.
Probably, especially toward the end of the trials, if you've been paying attention, you've
right,
noticed,
exactly.
like,
nobody's listening to a thing you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're screwed. Once you're accused, that's really all that matters.
And this is the same group of girls that's accusing everybody else, and all those other people are already convicted.
I would have beat the crap out of Ann Putnam Jr. at the first opportunity.
Yes. Yeah. Jumped across that podium and
because it doesn't
ripped
matter
her
at
to
that
shreds.
point. Oh, it's just terrible. I don't know.
Yeah. How do you know? Like, I don't know.
If you listen on Spotify, there's at the end, there's like a place you can interact. There's questions on there where you can put in answers. And that's going to be the question on this one is, what would you have done if you were an accused witch?
Yeah. And if you're on Patreon too, or the Facebook page, like hop on there, tell us.
Leave a comment. Because it is like, it's such a complicated question.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to be the awful person who like, again, throws somebody under the bus.
Right.
But on the other hand, like, I can understand why some of the women did.
Yeah. They're just
It's
picking
easy in
straws
hindsight
here.
to be like, I never would have done that.
Right.
But it's also like, think of the position they were in.
Well, and also, they're just, fight or flight moment. And it's just...
Well, it's just like, think of the women who confessed.
Right.
When you're like, why on earth would you confess?
Yeah.
But like, they were tortured.
Yeah, exactly.
Or they confessed because hoping that would be the thing that got them, like, they were allowed to live because they confessed. And sometimes that worked.
Yeah.
You just never knew what was going to get you out of it.
Poor things.
So that's it this week, guys. That covers, we've now discussed all of the women who were hanged on July 19th, 1692. Yeah.
That's wild.
I know. I still haven't made it to Salem. It's on my list. I'm going to get there.
That's going to be a long one.
Yeah.
Your stomach is like, hey, feed me.
I know. I haven't eaten yet today.
I haven't either.
Okay. Thank you all so much for listening.
Yeah.
Like I said, there won't be a new episode next week. So
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah. If you are one of our American listeners and you celebrate Thanksgiving,
or if you're not and you still celebrate Thanksgiving.
Yeah. And just know that we are so thankful for you.
Yeah.
And you are part of our family and we love you very much.
So much.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.